Okay, I wanted to build a kind of wrapped kind of cover or tent around this welding table. And so what I did is I bought some fiberglass rebar and I cut it at 80 inches, so 6 feet 8 inches. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stand up in these outer holes of this Harbor Freight welding table. I'm going to stick the rebar, and then I have these pipe fittings and stuff to add some stuff along the top and come out another few feet to kind of do the wrap around, or I might come out this way. Anyway, we can turn the table or whatever and decide. The reason I did this versus buying a tent, I could probably buy, not a tent, but panels. I could probably buy 3 panels for about the same price. I saw some for around $150. But I need it to be able to break down. A lot of those panels are not, you can't break them down unless you buy the really expensive ones. So they're kind of fixed. Anyway, so I thought the other thing is I would have to wait for those to ship in, and I didn't want to do that. And so we'll just use what I could find here close by. I'm going to wrap this rebar in this drip tubing. Just to, I don't know that it's going to reinforce it at all because it's a little bit bigger than the tubing. I'm going to use some gaffers tape at different points to make it kind of grab on there a little bit, but it'll at least prevent anybody from getting any sort of splinters on the fiberglass. And then we have the 2 blankets that will use these clamps to go around the edge. These rubber feet are for the ones that go through here. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. I'll record more as we get into it. All right, the first thing to do is to set up this tubing to length. I kind of paired these rebars together in the right length. So I'll go through this and then I'll see, gotta stop hitting the garage. I'll see if I need to put any sort of tape on there. It's actually holding pretty good just because of the flex, so I can always add it later if it doesn't need it right away. All right, so there's that. Go down to the end here, find the end of the rebar. Looks good. Okay, so there's one. And I'll just do the rest. All right, this shielding doesn't quite fit through this hole, so what I'm going to do is bring the shielding down to it, maybe leave a little space there. And I can use some tape to make it fit in that hole better. And then I'm going to cut this off and then put the rest of the shielding on underneath here. And I'll do that for each of the ones that are, each of the 4 that are going into these holes. All right, so here I'm going through, and then I'll go down into this other tubing. All right, that works. Push this down to the end, and now that'll be good, and I'll just put a little plastic cap on the end here and push it through so I can get it in there easier. There we go. Now push down. To seat that in. All right, looks good. I'll make that more stable. I can attach that somehow if we need to. So now I'm just going to do all the other ones. All right, well, before I didn't measure twice, so before I decided to buy I found these I was going to do it differently, and so I didn't remeasure after that. So this is actually going to be the pole that goes down, but I need to buy some more rebar for this cross piece here. But you see how it's going to look, and I'm just going to clamp the blanket around here, and then we'll have a nice little sheltered area to do the welding. All right, I went and bought some more rebar. Okay, that's good. Cut it to the right length so that I can replace this long side, and then this will become the leg over here so that we can put up the other blanket. There we go. All right, now we'll use the pipe cutter to cut this off. And then we can clean it up with the razor blade. There we go. All right, let's get this in here now. Now we'll put on our last little piece here. I need to loosen this. Ooh. Try not to hit myself in the face. All right, and then I figured for this last one, I do have some feet for these now too that I'm going to add on there. But I figured for this last one, I might make this bar a little bit longer, not too much because it doesn't bend too much, but I just give it a little something, so maybe 23 inches instead of, well, I'll have to see what it is because it actually goes in there. So it's more than 22. So let's see what we think we can do here. Just go in there, and then we'll say, just do it a little bit bigger so that these bend out a little bit. So we'll do it right there. So I'll cut it right there at the edge of the 8 there. Mark it. All right, now let's go over here and I will cut it off. Okay, grab it here so it doesn't shatter. I'm almost there, so. Wow. I ended up getting a little extra there. Wow. I'm not going to be stupid. Just file that off. All right, so we'll use the pipe cutter and then we'll clean it up with the razor blade. Oh, that one was actually pretty clean. Just got to get it really close, but I've gotten it to where I hit the rebar before too, and that's not good. So now let me take off this clip and we'll get everything in and tightened up. And then when I want to store this, I can actually just pull off this front part. There we go. We'll see if that works. Yeah, that works. So it's a little bit wider right there, which is kind of nice. And then we will get the covers on the bottom of these, and that'll be nice as well. And this is all of the rebar I have left. So this will be, I guess, a backup if I end up not wanting to have these bend as much. Fiberglass is nice because it's much lighter weight than the steel, which is why I got it. All right, I'm going to put these last covers on. They go just on the bottom there. And then at some point, you see how this fiberglass is rubbing off on the table. I'm going to put some gaffers tape around the edges here. Or just in between these two plastic pieces to give it something to protect it from that table. Either that or I'll find some little grommets that fit in there that are the right size that still allow it to go through. But we'll see what I can find. Alright, so the grommets were a fail. There's one other thing I can try. I could just try the next size down, which I think is this one, but I don't even think this will fit over the thing. Yeah, no. So not even worth it. Alright, so here's what we'll do. Let's go ahead and go through here so we can see where we need to add the tape. Alright. It's going to be right where the tube ends. So pinch that so that the tube doesn't move. And then put back here on my bench here. I like gaffer's tape because it doesn't leave a sticky residue. Works great on lots of materials. Not everything, but it does work great on itself. So if you can go around a couple times. Okay, so we'll go back a little bit. And I'm just going to angle that just slightly. And go around and around and around. All right. So that'll give it a little protection where it hits the table. And it looks like I got it right. Length. Good. Okay. Looks good. So now I need to go up a little bit to get this back on. Let's see which end had the, I don't know that it matters. We can do either end. So let's go back up a little bit. All right. Now this is overkill, but since I already bought it, I'm going to do it. I went past where it needs to be so that I can put that on, the little plastic foot. All right. There we go. I'll put this back over the gaffer's tape. Perfect. Back on there. All right, now I'll just do it for the other ones. Well, that was a waste of money for the grommets, but it was worth a shot. It would have been a nice little snug fit. the tape will work good. All right, now that I've got this all together, I'm going to just tighten up the screws here that lock this into place. And so once these are all tightened up all around, actually I might not tighten this one because then I can take these off easier for storage, but I'll tighten all the other ones. And then once I put the blanket on, it will hold this on. So I don't really need to tighten this. I mean, I will finger tighten it, but that's it. And then I'm going to tighten this and this all the way around. Shelf over there, and I'll tighten all these other ones real quick. Give it a little bit of stability once I put the curtains on. Well, the blankets, really, welding blankets. Try this one, I haven't done before, so it'll take a little longer. There we go. I'm going to put this in a different way. It's better with this in the middle. All right, so loosen these. And then I'll flip this around a little bit. I just put this one on the wrong way. Still loosen it a bit. Okay, there's that. Still need to loosen this one. Easier now that it's off though. Okay, so now get that off. Get that off. Okay, so that's supposed to be there with that more accessible for screwing in. So now put this back together. Let's see. Now I can't remember. I think I have this one going all the way. And then, yeah, that looks right. And then these just go in against this pole. So now we'll tighten this one down. And these ones down. All right. Now I'll just finish up the rest and we'll be done. Ready to put that up. Okay, I'm going to put up the blanket now. I'm going to start here a little past the center. Grab one way. Or should I use the big clamp on this one? Since I'll put the other blanket here too. Let me go over the top just a little bit more. Since I'm using the big clamp. All right. And then just around the corner here, I'll use one of the smaller spring clamps. I'll put a couple more. Right there. And then one right here. And then this will be able to close if needed. Now let's work on the other side. Okay, now I'm going to remove this and grab my other blanket here. Like those both up. Go around the corner. Up there. All right, grab one more. And put it around here. All right, so here's what the final product looks like. I can even close this up if I need to. If I want to have the garage open and I'm worried about kids staring at the arc. And then when I want to take this down, I can just undo these with my drill and take apart the pipes and take them down. What I'll probably do is just take off this front piece here, and then I'll put it over here, and then this part here will just go over my shelf a little bit.